It was a catastrophe of the mundane 6 jars of stone, cold, empty, and mocking us. In our world, shame is a physical weight, and we were drowning in it. Then Maryam's son stepped into the pantry. He didn't look like a disruptor. He looked like a man who knew the secret architecture of the water he was about to command. I watched the servants pour the water, I saw it
clear, simple,
all drawn from the deep dark of the earth. But as it hit the bottom of the jars, the atmosphere in the room, it warped. The air became dense with the scent of crushed skin, darker than a summer that hadn't happened yet. Whoa. He didn't pray, he didn't do gesture, he simply intended, and in that intention the laws of the harvest were executed in a heartbeat. The water didn't just turn, it surrendered, it remembered its potential. It skipped the rain, the root, the vine, and the vat. It reached forward into the future and pulled the best back into the night. When I dipped, the liquid was heavy, a deep bruised purple that seemed to glow with an inner uncreated light. I tasted and my nervous system buckled. It wasn't just wine, it was a concentrated essence of joy, a vintage that tasted like the first morning of the world, before the first tear was shed. It was an intrusion of the eternal banquet into our starving little Tuesday. But the master of molecules leans on the wall, watching the shadow of the evening fall. He's looking at water, he's seeing the wine, he's erasing the human and the divine line. A trillion atoms are changing their spin to let the age of the new begin. He's a chronos thief, stealing the years, turning the rain into joy for our tears. The vine and the bottle are skipped in the race by the intruding power of infinite grace. It's a glitch in the system, a crack in the law. The steward is shaking in silence and awe. From the common to cosmic, the plane to the pride, the universe is being resynchronized. Photosynthesis happens in the blink of an eye. The sun of a decade falls down from the sky. The sugars, the tannins, the yeast and the skin are summoned from nothing to settle within. It's a peculiar beauty, a frightening thing to see the water obey the command of the king. He's not just a guest at a wedding in town, he's the one who is turning the physics around.
The groom came over, confused by the praise. He didn't know the cellar was empty 5 minutes ago. I looked at the man from Nazareth. He was just sipping from a cup, his eyes reflecting a billion stars. I realized then, if he can do this to water, what is he gonna do to us?
12 years my life
had become a slow leak, a literal draining of the spirit through the flesh. I was a social ghost, an unclean thing whose very touch was a contagion of shame. My money was gone to doctors who only added to my scars. My biology was an entropic loop, a machine that only knew how to break. The crowd was a sea of grinding shoulders and sharp elbows, but he was the center of the storm. He wasn't just walking, he was radiating. I didn't want a conversation, I didn't want a sermon. I wanted the physics of his life to override the physics of my death. I crawled through the legs of the healthy, the dust was in my teeth. I saw the edge of his twisted, the ritual fringe of his robe, dragging through the Galilean dirt. I didn't grab it, I just brushed it. The moment my finger grazed the fiber, the universe turned inside out. It wasn't healing in the way a wound closes, it was a total system reboot. A trillion-fold surge of uncreated light hit my marrow. The leak didn't just stop, it was as if it had never existed. The years of trauma were vaporized by a thermal blast of pure being. And then the most terrifying part, he stopped. The whole world froze. He didn't look at the crowd, he looked at the space where his power had been stolen. He said, "Who touched me?" He felt the discharge, he felt the vacuum I had created. He wasn't angry, he was looking for the thief who had finally figured out how to use him. The ledger is empty, the blood is a ghost. She's a shipwrecked soul on a desolate coast. The laws of the temple are walls of cold stone. She's dying in public, she's suffering alone. But the disruptor's passing a son in the street, and she's tracing the path of the dust on his feet. She reaches for Adam, she reaches for grace, to steal a new world from this desperate place. It's a quantum discharge, a spark in the dark. The dove is descending to find the lost ark. She didn't ask permission, she didn't wait her turn. She just touched the fire and refused to be burned. Power is leaking from the king to the slave. A trillion-fold mercy is starting to wave. The hem of the garment is a lightning rod, grounding the earth in the current of God. He feels the virtue go out from his side, like the pull of the moon on a deep surging tide. The hemorrhage of spirit, the drainage of life, is mended in seconds by the edge of a knife. Daughter, he calls her, a name like a shield. In the heat of the crowd, the contract is sealed. The thief is a witness, the outcast is kin. The old world is ending, let the new begin. Potential energy, kinetic release. The war of the body is signed into peace. Fate times need the infinite flow. The higher he stands, the deeper he'll go. He looked at me, and for the first time in 12 years, I wasn't a case or a curse. I was a person. He told me my faith had made me whole, but I knew the truth. His wholeness had simply decided that my brokenness was an insult it could no longer tolerate.
Oh, I've spent my life guarding the borders of the sacred. I know where the pure ends and the profane begins. There are lines in the sand, ancient and tectonic, that keep the world from dissolving into chaos. But this man, he doesn't just cross the lines. He acts as if the sand itself has been redefined. Courtyard and watched the disruptor sit down. To his left was a tax collector, a man whose soul was a ledger of theft and Roman collaboration. To his right, a woman whose reputation was a jagged glass shards in the mouth of the city around them. The debris of Galilee, the unfetchables, the human waste of the empire. And there he was, the one who claimed the authority of the heavens, dipping his bread into the same bowl as the traitor. He wasn't just tolerating them, he was entangling his glory with their grime. The air in the room felt ionized, thick with a gainful attention that made my skin crawl. Every laugh from that table was a hammer blow to the temple walls. He was eating their shame, calorie by calorie, and giving them back a dignity that didn't belong to them. He was treating the table like an altar, and the wine like a covenant, and the rebels like the crown jewels of the Father. I realized then he wasn't there to fix the system. He was there to render the system obsolete by the sheer peculiar force of his affection. There the linen is stained with the juice of pomegranate. The righteous are watching from a different planet. The air is a friction of holy and hate, while the king of the stars is cleaning his plate. He's sitting with Judas, he's laughing with Saul. He's breaking the back of the partition wall. The tax man is weeping, the harlot is whole, as the master of mercy takes charge of the bowl. It's a table of rebels, a banquet of scars, an intrusion of heaven beneath the cold stars. He's rebonding the atoms of us and of them with a love that is tearing the hem of a hem. The social geometry is falling apart at the weight of the beat of a radical heart. It's a trillion-fold welcome, a gainful embrace. The disruptor is winning the battle of grace. Oh, the salt isn't just for the seasoning of meat, it's the sign of a covenant, bitter and sweet. He's ignoring the pedigree, burning the list of the people the Orthodox say should be missed. One bite of the bread and the status is gone. The darkness is kissed by the heat of the dawn. He's turning the other into my brother, with a peculiar peace unlike any other. The Pharisees' logic, purity and safety. The disruptor's logic, God plus and mercy. The math doesn't work for the men in the robes, but it's lighting a fire in the heart of the globe.
Away, but I couldn't unsee it. The way way the light caught the wine as he handed it to the thief. It wasn't just a dinner. It was a declaration of war against every barrier we ever built. He's making a world where the only thing that's Uncle Hand is the heart that refuses to sit down.
I've spent my life on the Kinneret. I know when the lake decides to eat its own. This wasn't just weather, it was a physical assault. The water was black, a churning, lightless maw, and the wind was trying to peel the skin from our faces. We were bailing out the abyss with wooden buckets, but the math was against us. We were 3 inches from being a footnote at the bottom of the sea. And him? He was asleep. That was the first intruding peculiarity. How do you sleep when the world is screaming? We woke him with the fury of the terrified yelling into his ear over the roar. He stood up. He didn't brace himself against the mast. He didn't look at the sky with fear. He looked at the storm like a father looks at a chaotic child. He didn't scream! He spoke a single, 2-word command in the ancient tongue. And the gainful attention of the universe shifted in a nanosecond. It wasn't a gradual fade. It was a kinetic arrest, 1 frame. The wind was 80 miles an hour. The next, it was absolute terrifying 0. The waves didn't subside. They simply flattened, as if an invisible hand of infinite mass had pressed the entire lake into a mirror. The silence was so loud it made our ears bleed. He had just commanded the kinetic energy of 1 trillion tons of water to cease existing. He looked at us, dry, calm, and hauntingly disappointed. And I realized the storm was the easy part, sitting in a boat with the one who owns the wind. That is why I'm trembling. The barometric pressure drops to the floor. The deep is a lion beginning to roar. The disciples are screaming, don't you even care? While the breath of the living is breathing the air. The ship is a splinter, the sky is a shroud, but the master is waking, unbowed and proud. He stands on the wood that he carved in the shop and tells the whole spinning planet to stop. It's a storm silence, the peace of the grave. The king of the current is walking the wave. A trillion-fold quiet, a cosmic beast still. The atoms of weather are bound to his will. He's not just a prophet, he's not just a man. He's the gravity holding the world in his hand. The gainful attention of the sea and the sky is fixed on the light in the disruptor's eye. The molecules of water are frozen in place, reflecting the calm of a Galilean face. The why and the how are lost in the deep as the giants of thunder are lulled into sleep. The terror of drowning is replaced by the awe of a man who is higher than physical law. He's mending the chaos, he's muting the roar and rowing the possible back to the shore. Force, mass times acceleration. just sat there. The sun started to break through the clouds, and the lake was so still I could see the reflection of my own terrified eyes. I looked at the back of his head. As he sat down, I realized then, he didn't stop the storm to save our lives. He stopped the storm to show us who was actually in the boat.